This conference will now be recorded.
We'll do Kirtan for 5 minutes, and after that we'll start the class. Everybody is able to hear me, right? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare
Okay.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mata. Dhanavad. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatarishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radha Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय Hare Krishna to all of you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna to all of you. Thank you. Okay. Actually, I thought today we wanted to sing one prayer, Narsimha prayer. Does anybody know Narsimha Arati? Anybody?
No, Prabhu.
Namaste.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes,
Namaste,
Prabhu.
Narsimha.
Okay, Shanmukhi Mataji. Good. Okay. So it doesn't take more than 3 to 5 minutes. I thought we should also learn these prayers. So I would like to just quickly do this prayer. And then we'll start our class. Probably we'll extend a little bit on time. So, okay. So can everybody see the one that I'm sharing?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes,
So this is Narsimha Arati. Actually, this was the prayer by Prahalad Maharaj. Prahalad, when he was very small, when Hiranyakashipu was increased his demoniac activities, when Narsimha Bhagwan has come and he has annihilated this demon. After that, to pacify him, actually Prahalad Maharaj sings this prayer. Okay, and basically that is the mood with which we should also sing. So let's try this singing, and you should also, this is the prayer. There are two prayers that we do in the morning, early morning Mangalarti. The first one is the Guru, the Samsara Dava Nananirita Loka, that one, which is we are doing prayers to the Guru, because we start our day with giving our respectful obeisances to the Guru. After that, we do this Narsimha Arati, because Narsimha Arati, Narsimha Bhagwan is the Bhagwan who eliminates all the obstacles in our life. So in the day also, when we travel also, initially we sing this and then go for the travel. So because Narsimha Bhagwan has that like basically removes all the obstacles. So we will sing this song. There are different ways to sing, but I will do it in one the tone that I do. Namaste Narashinghaya. Namaste Narashinghaya. Prahlada Lada Dayine. Prahlada Lada Dayine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shilatankanakalaye. Shilatankanakalaye. ito narsimha parato narsimho ito narsimha parato narsimho yato yato yamitato narsimha yato yato yamitato narsimha aye narsimha aye narsimha aye narsimha aye narsimha Narasimhamadam Sharanam Prapati Narasimhamadam Sharanam Prapati Avakara Kamalavare Nakam Adhuta Shringa Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadutta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Keshavadutta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jayo Narsimha De Jaya Narsimha De Jaya Narsimha De Jaya Narsimha Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev लक्ष्मी नरसिम्हा भगवान की जय भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्णा Okay, so let's get started with our business. Okay, so we get started with the fourth chapter, the Jnana Yoga, Yoga of Transcendental Knowledge. So let's quickly review what we have, what we are going to do today, so probably we will. Okay, so fine. So the transcendental knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, is known as Shruti, that which is heard. So the bygone ages, people would hear such knowledge, remember it, assimilate it, and perfectly communicate it to the next person without any adulteration. So that's what it comes with parampara, the disciplic succession. The chapter 4 is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, for it is this knowledge which outlines how one can establish their divine connection with the Lord. So this is where the divine connection with the Lord is coming in this chapter. In the previous chapter, we did not really touch about that. So that now we will define certain things. As I asked you, what is yajna, what is duty, all those basic things is what we will reiterate today. The famous Vedic aphorism that encourages aim to see God through the ears rather than the eyes. So basically, when we go to any pilgrimage, they say that don't go to the pilgrimage and see with your ears. They say that see with your ears. I was surprised. What is this? People say, "Kaan se dekhiye." What is this "Kaan se dekhiye"? So how does it really, so this is what you will be able to realize today. What does it mean? Aim to see the God through the ears rather than the eyes. So this is what we need to understand today, and that's the reason why we have the acronym called ears. So which is what we are going to do today. The eternal education, E stands for eternal education, the actual knowledge that we are talking about, gnana. This is what you are going to touch upon it today. Okay, the earlier session was the karma yoga. Now today is what it is, gnana yoga. So that's what we'll see. I'll show you how we are going to deal with that today. The accurate understanding of the knowledge, that is what we are understanding. What is yajna? That is what we will understand accurately. So, and as I told you, people have different conception. If I ask you, each one of you whosoever is there, can you tell me what is yajna? You would kind of give some explanation, but we would like to see actually what is yajna and what we studied earlier and now. Is there any difference in this chapter, or is it an enhancement to our existing understanding? That's what we wanted to see. And in the process of gaining this knowledge, and we are performing certain yajna, so are some duties, so we come across some hurdles, okay, obstacles, and what are those obstacles, and some of the reactions also we get when you do the work. So how do you remove those reactions is what we will see. And the final one, which is the sacrifice, which we will also see. What is the sacrifice? What is yajna? And what we studied in the karma yoga, what is that yajna? And here also we are going to talk about yajna. How is it different? Is there any variation? And if at all, how it is? So let's quickly see what we have done so far. So we have seen that Arjuna, observing the armies, he kind of went into a state where he was defending himself for that I will not do the war because of various reasons. And he had one is that he had compassion, and he would say that it is loss. There is no enjoyment here at all in whatsoever. Whatever I do, whether I win or lose, there is no enjoyment. And destruction of the family tradition, and saintliness, and the fear of sinful reaction. So that's where he came across in the chapter 1. And in chapter 2, he was not able to decide whether to really go for the war or not. And finally, he kind of gave it up. And that indecision is what he has been with. And these are the 5 basic reasons why Arjuna do not wanted to fight the war. And once he surrenders to Krishna, Krishna gives the entire Bhagavad Gita. But in the chapter 2, he gives everything in one shot. So Arjuna in the next chapter, which is chapter 3, he kind of gets confused, because Krishna was telling that you should intelligence is better than fruitive work. Then he said, if intelligence is better than fruitive work, then why should I really engage in this ghastly warfare? I will give it up. Then there is a misunderstanding, because Krishna has talked about karma yoga and gnana yoga, and gnana yoga is intelligence part, karma yoga is more in the fruitive work part. So in that sense, then he says that why should I really fight if intelligence is greater than fruitive work? Then, but actually he misunderstood. Krishna was saying that there is a combination of these two, karma yoga and gnana yoga. That is what is buddhi yoga. That is what I wanted you to do, but you got confused. That's where he explains in the 3rd chapter, saying that you should perform your work, but perform your work in a dutiful way. So that's what we will see now. And here in chapter 3, he deals with the confusion and asks him work in nishkama karma. Nishkama karma is what he says you need to work where there is no reaction for the work that you are doing. From karma kanda to karma yoga, that's where he kind of transitions. So we'll see this now. I'll try to explain what we were doing now, because there is a lot of people who had this confusion, and it has been not with you, but with a lot of people, that though we are reading the chapters, we are not able to connect the chapter to chapter, and in the chapter itself basic concepts are not clear. So I agree, because this is what is happening with most of us. So I just want to reiterate certain things. Okay, so In Karma Yoga, basically the one that you see here, so the way we defined Buddhi Yoga is a Karma Yoga in a strong platform of Jnana Yoga with a mindset of Bhakti Yoga. That is what is Buddhi Yoga. It is kind of a statement that I am giving, so that will be easy for you to understand at later point of time also. Okay, so Karma Yoga is basically on a strong platform of Jnana Yoga, or a foundation of Jnana Yoga with a mindset of Buddhi Yoga. That's mindset of Bhakti Yoga. That is what is Buddhi Yoga. Okay, so here Karma Yoga basically talks about what you need to do. So what, see, because how did Krishna start giving this explanation is that there are a lot of people who do not wanted to do work at all, or if they wanted to do also, they are doing it in a way that like an animalistic way. So they do not have any discipline in their life. You understand the point? So in Karma Yoga, what Krishna was saying is that but let's begin with some discipline in our life by starting to follow our prescribed duty, and that is what he calls is that dutiful work. Dutiful work is what he gives, and this is what is yajna. Dutiful work is what he talks it, he names it as yajna, but you can say it as yajna 1.0, because now he is going to elaborate more about how to perform yajna and what is yajna in more greater details. And in the previous chapter, that is Karma Yoga, he talks about what are the obstacles that you will find when you are performing your dutiful work. Can somebody remember what was that? When you perform your dutiful work or prescribed duty or yajna, see again, the word yajna, prescribed duty is one and the same. It is nothing to be confused about. Okay, it's more or less it is one and the same. There is no difference. Prescribed duty is yajna for you. Okay, we will elaborate that today in more greater details. Just take it for granted that prescribed duty means dutiful work. Dutiful work is nothing but yajna, and the yajna that we are talking about in Karma Yoga is yajna 1.0. Okay, and he talks about some of the obstacles that you will find in the path of when you are doing your prescribed duty. And what are those obstacles? What is the first obstacle that will create when you are doing your dutiful work? Anybody?
Lust, Prabhu.
Okay, good, very good.
Anger.
Uh,
Anger.
yeah, good. Any and where
Attachment.
does, okay, yeah, but what the actually, as per the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga chapter 3, one of the obstacles that Krishna mentions is lust, and because of lust there are so many things that come. Anger comes, and when anger
Contempt, attachment.
right, all these things come, and finally he says that once your lust is not fulfilled, what will happen, and finally you will be falling down. So that's what he concludes, right? So I'm not going into the details now, but I wanted to know, where does this lust resides as per the previous chapter?
Senses, mind, intelligence.
Okay, good. Yeah, there is disturbance, Mataji. Okay, so let me quickly.
Mind is there.
Okay,
Mind.
right. Yeah, so basically the lust resides in senses, mind and intelligence. These are the three places it resides, and Krishna also gave how can you get rid of this lust. Can somebody remember who has not spoken so far? Can somebody attempt to
Doing
do?
service.
Yes, Mataji.
By doing service to God.
Service to God. Lust resided in which one? Like there are senses, mind and intelligence. So when you do seva, where this lust is removed from which one? In senses, mind or intelligence?
Mind.
Once the soul is in, Krishna consciousness. Soul is the master. Mind and intelligent and
Okay, understand the question, Prabhuji. One of the Matajis has answered it correctly. So how do you get rid of lust? First we said that one is seva. Seva, when you do seva, you will purify the senses. That means the lust which is there in the senses gets removed, or you can get rid of lust which is residing in the senses when you do seva. And similarly, when you
By sadhana.
right in the mind,
Ravana.
we wanted to remove the lust. Then through spiritual practice called sadhana, you can remove the lust from which is residing in the mind. And the last one, in the intelligence, when you do the study of the scriptures, then the intelligence, whatever lust is there, that will be removed. So this is what Krishna has mentioned. Now
Kirtana also
today,
there is.
yeah, Prabhuji.
Kirtana and Shravanam.
Yeah, so in his basically spiritual practice is what that is. We will see that now, because I just wanted to introduce you. So okay, so today what will we do is that karma yoga, this is what we have seen. I presume that there is not much of doubts in karma yoga, and I might have given you saying that what is yajna, what is dutiful work, and you can define that, so that we will elaborate to the next level today. Okay. So please mute Matajis. Yeah, thank you. So today we are talking about the Gnana Yoga, which is this is the topic of discussion today. Okay, the Gnana Yoga part. Before we go there, I just wanted to okay, let me reiterate this and then go for the next one. Okay, so the transcendental knowledge, we said that the dutiful work which is talked about in the chapter 3 is Yajna 1.0. Okay, so then other, see, Yajna or prescribed duties is nothing different. It is one and the same. So read it in that context, so your confusion will be lost. Yes, yajna in general, when you talk, there is yajna kund, and you put certain things, and so all that is there. But that's what we will dig deeper today. For now, based on your understanding of the chapter 3, just take it that dutiful work is nothing but yajna, or it is called a service. So that is what you need to understand. And dutiful work is nothing but prescribed duties you are doing. And these prescribed duties, understand this, the prescribed duties is what Krishna has told that you need to do. And now you need to understand where from you will get this prescribed duties, what are prescribed duties. So that is what we need to dig deeper now, because here the what part is clear, because the karma yoga is talking about what part, what I should do. Because then they said that yes, you need to do prescribed duties. You need to do duties, prescribed duties. What are prescribed duties? That question is not yet addressed. That is what you need to, the how part is what the chapter 4 is talking about. Knowledge of the work is what you need to know, you need to have to do this dutiful work. The knowledge, see, karma yoga is there. Now jnana yoga is also required. I told you, right? You know what to do, but how to do, you also need to know, right? I know that I need to perform dutiful work. Now the question is that how I should do this dutiful work is what is jnana yoga. That is what is talking about knowledge of the work. Okay. And what all we will discuss, we'll see this. Yajna, prescribed duties, and yajna is one and the same. Okay. So I wantedly gave you that kind of a statement asking you what it is, because there is a lot of confusion with each and every person. So, but just take it this way, it will be easy for you for your understanding. Okay. Now we need to take this dutiful work to the next level. So that is what. So the Yajna 1.0 is what he has told, that you need to do dutiful work. Now we will understand how to do this dutiful work. What takes you to the next level is by understanding the mood of the work. Now we are going into the mood of the work. In what mood you need to do the work? That is what mood, meaning with some knowledge, right? That is what we are talking about. Okay, how I should approach my work, that is my prescribed duty or yajna, how I should approach my work. Okay, what is the nature of the work, what reactions come when we work. So this is all we need to know. When I say we need to know, that is knowledge is involved in there. That is where Gnana Yoga comes, knowledge of the work. Okay, the dynamics of the work, the physics of the work, the science of the work, that is what we will be learning today. Okay, when you perform the work, gradually some amount of maturity and grounding comes, how you are dealing with the physical world. So that the maturity is what is now going to get developed. This is how systematically Bhagavad Gita has been told. Okay, now I will talk about the I told you, right, in the previous here, when we were talking about when we were talking about the in karma yoga, lust is there, and when you do seva, you the lust that it resides in the senses is getting removed, and when you in the mind, the lust that is there and the mind that is wandering here and there because of the lust, I want this, and it is restless. And because it is your soul is always active, and your mind is also very always active. Whether you're sleeping also, it is active, it is still thinking, it is doing certain things. How do you really keep that the lust, the desires, unwanted desires, how do you eliminate that, how do you get rid of that? Through spiritual sadhana. And one of you told, the yajna for this particular Kali Yuga is Sankirtan yajna, because that is the best way to get rid of the lust that is there in your mind. That is called spiritual sadhana that we are talking about, or spiritual practice. So that is what we will see today. What is this mantra meditation? Okay, because one Mataji has also asked me, how do we chant? And because this some of you are got some exposure to this, and we will understand this in spending 1 or 2 minutes, not much. Okay, so mantra meditation, basically mind is always busy, restless, and cannot be stopped. Meditation and yoga help us rise above the mind's chatter. What we meditate on now creates our future life. So what are we meditating upon is all very important. Because if you are meditating upon, say suppose you're always meditating upon what do you say, so let me give you an example. They in Bhagavad Gita, down the line in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says that my mind, controlling my mind is very difficult, it is like a monkey. And the Shastra says that our mind is like a monkey, not just normal monkey, it is a monkey which is drunked. So it has drank so much of alcohol or something. And how does the monkey act? And on and above it, the monkey, on his foot there is a thorn that is that is entered, like while going somewhere, the thorn has entered into his foot, and it is drunk. So how does it really act? So that is the kind of a nature of the mind. So it is so restless, it is compared with a monkey. Now can you tell me, there is one monkey in the in our that you will know definitely for sure, which is always sitting like this, stand still. And usually monkeys, you will not find any monkey standing or sitting quietly in one branch. Immediately it will jump, because mind of a monkey is very, it's compared that way, because that's how mind of a monkey is, right? So which is one monkey that you know, which is very still? Can somebody?
Hanumanji, Prabhuji.
Lord Hanuman.
Yes, Hanuman. See, he is a monkey, but still, why? How is he able to sit still like that? How?
Ramanama Japam.
Yeah,
His attachment towards Lord Rama.
right. So he is always chanting the Lord's name. So that is what see, we will see what is mantra. The definition of mantra is, in fact, the word mantra means that which delivers us. Delivers is tra. Tra means delivers us from the mind. So mantra means that which delivers the mind. The definition of mantra is that which delivers the mind. So because our mind is always in the material things or in some kind of a lusty things, so how do you deliver that? So so why and to what your mind should be associated with? Can somebody tell me?
Chanting.
Okay, anything else? Pramila Mataji, you're saying something?
Yeah, always chanting and being in a spiritual
Okay,
state.
okay, good. Can anybody attempt why we are why we are chanting and what is the ultimate purpose of chanting? Yeah, we wanted to hear as the per the definition, mantra means that which delivers us from the mind. So it delivers us. But where is the, after you deliver, where is it getting hooked up to?
Controlling
Lord.
the
Form of Lord.
control the mind.
Yeah, somebody who is saying
Form of Lord.
form of Lord. Okay, okay. One last person. Anybody wanted to attempt? What is the purpose? You are saying.
Prabhu,
Yeah, go ahead, Santosh.
yeah, Prabhuji, see, but basically mind needs some activity to hold on to. So if you don't give a purposeful activity, it might jump into any activity, as you said, so jumping
Okay.
here from here and there. So if you give a rightful activity, it will
No,
definitely hold
my
on to it.
question, right? I understand that there is a rightful activity, but what are we trying to hook on to now? So you are saying that it will be delivering you, but where it is now getting hooked up to? When you do chanting or when you are, what is your ultimate goal there?
To attain the
Will
supreme
hold
truth.
on to last, not we
Purify
are
our mind.
Yeah, Padma Mataji, please confirm.
Purify our mind, Prabhuji.
Okay, okay. Yeah, Mallikarjun Prabhu, you are saying something?
it is we realize God through that.
Okay, okay. So
We
basically,
reach near to God, closer.
right. So all of you have really made your point very nicely. You are not wrong. You are always all correct. So basically, what is happening is that, see, who are we? We are part and parcel of God. That means we have all the characteristics what is there in the Supreme Lord, but in minute quantities, but still we are part and parcel of God. Okay, so now we wanted that bliss, we wanted that ananda. To experience that ananda, you need to get connected with the Lord, because to whom you get connected to, that kind of qualities you are going to get. Right? See, Supreme Lord is Anandamayo Vyasat. So always joyful. So you also, your soul characteristic is also to have that kind of a joy. So for that reason, when you connect with this mantra, mantra will deliver you. This mantra is not an ordinary mantra. So we'll see that. I think I made my point. What I'm saying is that when you do this chanting, you are chanting not because you wanted the peace of mind, you wanted some things, this, that. Okay, as a byproduct it may come, but finally you are getting connected to the Lord. And when you connected to the Lord, you get all the characteristic that the Lord has in say one of the things, because you are nothing but you are also part and parcel of the Lord. So your true nature is what you will get. And what is your true nature? Andamayo Vyasat. That means you will be in absolute bliss. That is what you will experience. And when you do this mantra meditation, can you mute Mataji? Okay, thank you. So there are two types of mantra meditation. One is called japa and the other is called kirtan. What I have japa is the silent chanting that you do on the beats. And as one Mataji has asked me whether to use tulsi beats or other beats, so I've replied to that. So I kind of send it to the group sometimes, though they send it personally, because I wanted so that others also get some knowledge. So that's the reason. Please don't mind, I do that. Okay, so the japa is basically silently. When you in the morning, we do the japa on our individual level, sit down, and depending upon the kind of uh, level you have, you can go from one round to 16 rounds. Ideally 16 rounds is what is recommended. We all do 16 rounds, but you can start taking the Lord's name. Okay, why you should take the Lord name, etc., we will see that in greater detail as we go, because we are not yet reached the that particular section of Bhagavad Gita where we are doing a lot of emphasis on that part. That's why I'm not giving you that, but you can start taking Lord's name, because as I told you, when you connect with a person who has those kind of characteristics, you will also start experiencing that characteristics in your life and within yourself. So that's the reason. You suppose you are always having friends who are talking about gold ornaments or movies or something else. So you will always have that kind of a mood. So now you are talking about or remembering Lord. So then you will get all those kind of characteristics. Okay. Here in the in our Shastra it is mentioned that Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodakanam Kali Kalmasanasanam Nata Parataro Paya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. So this is mentioned in the Shastra, saying that Hare Krishna Maha Mantra will in the Kali Yuga, it will remove the Kali influence on you. Okay, so that is what it talks about. And the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is made up of 3 words: Hare, Krishna and Rama. So what does that? Hare means the beautiful energy of the Lord. Hare means Krishna, the all attractive one. Rama means the one who gives happiness to all. So this is what Hare Krishna Maha Mantra means. Okay. The simple yet profound words help attune our consciousness to the treasure of spiritual happiness that already exists in our heart. So it is already there. It is like our heart is already, it is spiritually, happiness is there. But what happened is that there is dust on the mirror. So when you do this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra chanting or japa, what will happen is the dust which is accumulated on the heart will be removed. It is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sistastakam tells that in a very beautiful way. He says that Cheto Darpana Marjanam Dava Dhavagni Nirvapanam. So Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Cheto Darpana Marjanam means whatever that dust is there on the mirror. Darpana means mirror. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Davagni Nirvapanam. So whatever is the dust that is there, that is removed, and now then you will experience the spiritual happiness. So that is what each one of us are experiencing this when we do in this particular spiritual sadhana, and your mind is now very pure. Slowly, I would not say that I am pure, but to that extent, but again purity is coming. So that's how each one of you will experience that purity. Okay, the Maha Mantra descends from the spiritual world. Golekara Prema, Golokera Prema Dhana, Harinama Sankirtana. It came from Golekara, Goloka. This mantra is not an ordinary mantra. It has, who gave this mantra? Can somebody know? Who gave this mantra? Hare Krishna Maha Mantra?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of the mercy of elevating everyone, he just gave this mantra and distributed this mantra, so that spiritual ecstasy is there, and it came from Goloka, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he is none other than Krishna. He gave that. So once he gives you, so that potency is there, so it will elevate your consciousness. Okay, so thank you so much. So we will resume our discussion, which is what knowledge that we wanted to talk about. Okay, so once again, knowledge of work is what we are discussing about, and dutiful work is there, but you need to do the prescribed duties. How to do that is what is not given. Now, how to do that dutiful work, what knowledge you need to have, the science of the work, the physics of the work is what he is now going to explain about. Okay, so it is acronymed as years, EARS. So years, the first one is eternal education. The verses 1 to 10 talks about, just as every gadget comes with an instruction manual, This entire universe comes with guidelines which enlighten us about its purpose and function. So we will see that what is this entire universe, how is it, and why is it designed this way. All that is knowledge is there. We discussed in greater details in our Discover Yourself course. If you remember, this particular world, which is called uh, material world, is called Dukhalayam Ashashvitam. It's temporary and it's filled with misery. Okay, so is there not happiness? Yes, it is there, but basically it is like a jail. And the Maya Devi, Kali, Durga Devi is the jailer for this particular jail. Durga means kota. Kota means the fort. So, and Durga Devi is the presiding goddess for this particular fort, and she is the jailer, and she gives you this three kind of a what do you say, Adi Bhautika, Adi Devika, Adhyatmika Kleshas. These kind of problems she gives, such that you can realize yourself that this is not the place that you wanted to be, and come out of it. So that is the reason it has been designed this way, that these kind of difficulties are there. So I would not go into the details about what is this Adi. Basically, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika. So Adi Bhautika is basically the difficulties, the problems that you face because of your body and mind. So there's a lot of problems you'll be facing in your life, right? So Adi Bhautika. Adi Daivika is basically the natural calamities that come, and because of that you suffer. Adi Daivika, Adi Atmika, sorry, Adi Atmika is body and mind. Adi Daivika is natural calamities. Adi Bhautika is because of other animals and other human beings or whatsoever. They also give you trouble. They also give you problems. So because of that, you get you will be suffering here. So that is what these kind of three kleshas are there in this world, and that is how it is designed. So that's the entire universe, and we'll see this entire universe from the demigods perspective also. We'll see who are these demigods, and etc. Such guidelines are found in the ancient scriptures, which contain knowledge of the divine origin imparted at the time of creation. So the Brahma Samhita talks about this in greater detail, how this universe has been performed, and who is responsible to get these universes, and how they are formed, and how they are getting annihilated, and how jivas are coming into picture, all these things. Okay, Krishna explains how this eternal education system was originally set up by him. So this educational system that he is talking about, giving the Bhagavad Gita Gnan, he talks about he is the original person who has given the Vedas, including the Bhagavad Gita knowledge also previously. He'll talk about that. The system perpetuates in the universe through a qualified and saintly persons who impart spiritual knowledge to the masses in a dynamic, relevant, and practical way. So based on the time, place, circumstances, the saintly persons come and give this knowledge and in that process, Srila Prabhupada is one who has given this knowledge to us. Thus, the material creation is essentially a university where we rediscover our relationship with God. So this, when you get what do you say, come into this university and gain the knowledge, you'll rediscover your relationship with God. First of all, you'll know who you are, who is God, and what is your relationship with God. And other things also, you'll know what is this Prakriti all about. Why am I suffering here? Why is it designed this way? All these things you will know. And the last one, as the creator and maintainer, Krishna periodically appears in this world to re-inject spirituality, because sometimes this is lost. So he has to come back again and re-inject the spirituality, remove materialistic influence, and ensure that smooth functioning of the universe. Sometimes materialistic influence is so much, then he has to come and remove that. That is materialistic demons who are coming. So he has to annihilate them or remove them, ensure smooth functioning of the universe. Okay, any doubts so far? Anything? Okay. So today we will discuss about the mood of work. Okay. So the mood of work, meaning the science of work. Earlier we said that, I'll reiterate so many times. So basically we talked about we need to do prescribed duty, or you need to do work, dutiful work. So how to do is what we are going to discuss today. That is what part. This is today's how part. Okay. So basically, so knowledge always takes work to the next knowledge always takes work to the next level. When you know that this is the work you need to do, but if you have the knowledge how to do that work, that will take you to the next level. How I should approach towards my work, by understanding or gaining knowledge of the inner working takes one to the next level. Inner working of the work. So once I do this work, what will happen? If you know that, then it will become much easy for you, or it will be the best way that you can perform that work, right? If I know how to use a gadget, is good. Basically, how to use a gadget, it is good. But if you know the inner working of the gadget, is much better, because you can utilize it better. So similarly, you have this body, and you know that you need to do dutiful work, but how should you use this body? If you know, then you can utilize it better. So that's what he's talking about. Suppose driving a car, if you know, it is good, but if you know how to fix a car, that is going to take you to the next level when some issue comes up, right? So that's where you also need to know how to fix a car, or exactly, or in greater detail, if you know exactly what happened, what is happening when the engine is started. So every time you press a throttle, what exactly is happening to the engine, what exactly is happening to the carburetor, what exactly is happening to the coolant. So if you know those inner working, then you will be in a better position to do your work, if that is assigned, right? So that is where he talks about. And he says that, Krishna says that, I have instructed this knowledge of work to Vivaswan. That's what who says this? I have
Krishna.
instructed. Krishna
Krishna
says this to Arjuna, that this is not the first time I am giving this knowledge. This knowledge I have given in the past to Vivaswan. Who is Vivaswan?
God's son.
Surya.
God's son.
Yeah, he is the sun god. So I have given it to sun god so many millions of years back. Now Arjuna is bewildered. He asks, you are my cousin. I might have taken birth little later than you, but I might be young. But you are saying you have given millions of years back to Vivaswan. How is that possible? Now there is a little bit of a detour that Krishna takes here. So here Krishna is explaining about the history of the science of Gita. Now he is taking a detour. So mind you, we will come back to the actual route again, but he is taking a detour here in the verse 1 to 4 of the fourth chapter. So he talks about the universal government. Can you mute Prabhuji, somebody? Okay, thank you. So he talks about the history of Gita. When was it given? To whom he has given? And he talk about various things. And the comparison is given about the universe. In the universe, to maintain this universe, you need to have so many things to be done. And Krishna, see, if Anil Ambani or somebody, but Tatas, they have offices, but they don't really have to work. They kind of manage things, right? Or the best example that is given is the prime minister. Under the prime minister, to maintain so many other sectors, or some assigned ministries are there. State and roads ministry, irrigation ministry, home ministry. So all these people. Similarly, the universal government which is there, there also you need to have assigned ministries. And Varuna, who is the in charge of the brain, and Indra is in charge of the clouds, and he's also overseeing all the demigods, and at the same time there are so many other demigods, and there are 33 million demigods. How many? 33 million demigods. And in your body also, you think that you're doing everything on your own, but to digest your food also there is some deity that is there to help you to digest. Not that it is just happening mechanically. You think like that, but it is not. So that is, there are 33 million demigods, and all of them have been assigned certain duties to be done. And again, these are all 33 million demigods are in the material world, that is in the material part of the universe. They are there. Okay, all the 33 million demigods. Okay, so that's what and these are all ministries. Devatas are all the ministries, because there is a lot of confusion, especially in our Hindu so-called, we are all Hindus generally, we call ourselves. So we say that there are so many gods. We are confused. Kali is also God, Shiva is also God, Brahma is also God, Hanuman is also God, Vinayaka is also God. So basically, who is really the God? So these are all devatas or demigods. They are ministers. They are assigned certain roles and responsibilities behalf of the Prime Minister or the Supreme Lord Krishna. They are executing their role and responsibilities. So I gave you in my WhatsApp message, one of the Matajis has asked, Shanmukhi Mataji, I think she has asked, and I replied back. So that is also what it is. Ishvara means the Supreme Lord Krishna is the head of all these demigods. So he is the supreme person. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. This is what in Brahma Samhita Brahma is saying. Ishvara Parama Krishna. So he is the head. Earlier this was presented to Sun God. To this was transferred to the disciple tradition, but during the course of time it was lost. So Krishna is present the same knowledge now to Arjuna. That is what he is giving. Okay. This is history or science of Gita. So Krishna goes off track because Arjuna asked a question. Because sometimes when we are giving a lecture also, what happens is that somebody asks a question, we kind of take a detour. And we come back to the track later. So similarly, this is what happened in verse 1 to 4. And later on, the truth about Krishna and his identity is also revealed in verses 5 to 10. He tells about himself. Who is he? Okay, Krishna as the spiritual. He says that I got a spiritual form. Okay. Krishna says that, see, what happened? See, why he is giving all this explanation? Can somebody tell me? Why is he explaining about Krishna? Truth about Krishna?
Because whenever there is decline in religious practice, he takes a rise to bring that back to from that irreligion to religion. He descends himself.
Okay, Mataji, please understand the question I've asked. Why Krishna is telling a truth about himself? Yeah, I understand that, but why is he telling about who is Krishna? But why he has come? I'm not talking about who is Krishna. He is talking about that. Why is he talking about? Can somebody attempt this one more time?
So that people don't indulge in the what we call karma kanda activities and realize the supreme truth and take that path.
Okay, fine. So basically, why Krishna is revealing, basically it is very simple answer. You might be surprised. So Arjuna asked a question saying that, how is this possible? You are my cousin. You are my mother's, what is that? He's like a nephew, right? So Krishna's mother is sorry, Arjuna's mother is Krishna's sister, right? Like Krishna's aunt. Okay, so because Devaki and Vasudha, Devaki and Vasudev's sister is Kunti, right? And so that is how she becomes Krishna's aunt. Right now we are cousins. Oh, where is that you're talking about? You have given this knowledge to Vivaswan. Then he has to tell about himself also now. So that is where he is talking about the truth about Krishna and his identity. Okay, so he's saying that Krishna is saying that simultaneously I might be looking ordinary and behave ordinary, yet Krishna's form is completely spiritual, and there is no material elements at all in Krishna's form. So that we need to understand very well. Okay, so this concept is elaborated in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita in greater detail, but now for you, based on this explanation what he has given, because some people say, what is this? Krishna has got a spiritual form and no material element. That means to say, when I put my hand inside him, is it going to go through that? So but that is some misconception people have. What is the spiritual form? So basically what it means is that we will see in greater detail. See, we are basically there are some three modes of nature. So when we come to this world, because we have some material, we are made up of material elements also. How many material elements are there? Can somebody remember based on Sankhya Yoga?
24.
Yeah. Yeah, 24 material elements are there. So we are having those 24 material elements, and in addition to that we have 25th element, which is spiritual element, which is soul. But when Krishna's form, it is all spiritual. There is no material component at all. So the modes of nature that we are talking about, we will discuss in greater detail. That will influence, and that is where things all go high, and we need to understand this and to get all this Bhagavad Gita knowledge to come on track. So okay, so now what he's saying is that Krishna has a spiritual form. His body and soul are non-different. Okay, his body and soul are non-different because both are spiritual. His entire form is spiritual. This is the mystical identity of Krishna. So this nobody understood. When Krishna also came, there are not many people could understand. So they know that the Krishna is a Supreme Lord, but again, this knowledge is what we need to understand. Because the person who is giving this knowledge, when he has got the material contamination, whatever comes out from that will not be pure. So since this Bhagavad Gita, Vedas have come from Krishna, and he is pure spiritual, 100% spiritual, so there is no contamination. So you cannot get misguided, or the information what he is going to give will be flawless. Okay. So what do we mean by karma? Karma has multiple meanings. So basically, when we say karma yoga, karma has got multiple meanings. So because you need to understand from one perspective also. I'll tell you there. So what do you mean by karma? Karma has multiple meanings. The first one level is that karma means. What do you think karma means? One of you can tell me what is karma?
Duty.
Act. Okay. Anything else? Duty is karma. Okay. Okay. So basically, at one level, karma means work. Work means karma. Kam karo. Kam means karma. So kam means work. Okay. That is at one level. So it could also mean reaction to work. Karma means, you say that na, are ni karma valla ila jarigindra, ni karma. Ante what does it mean? Because it also means reaction to work. Because in Sanskrit, each word you'll see in this chapter also, the 3rd chapter, the word Brahma can mean so many things based on the context also. And that's the beauty about Sanskrit, and that's the one of the things that you might also get misguided sometimes. So you need to understand the context properly. Okay, one level it is karma is called at work, and it could also mean reaction to work. And karma also means fruitive mentality. Fruitive mentality, we have seen that when you fruitive mentality means you are expecting the results of the work. That is also called karma. So these are the 3 levels of understanding one can have. Okay, each one of us have a baggage of karma. To fulfill that karma, we have taken this birth. Our actions are also subjected to karmic reactions to the past karma. Okay, so why am I acting this way? Because of we have seen that in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when in the acronym doubt, when we were discussing about the first Duryodhana and why some people are always doing bad things, and we have seen that because of the past life impressions also, we kind of do that kind of thing, and how we have been upbringing has happened, that also will really decide the kind of work that we are going to do, and the kind of the things that we are going to do, right? So each one of us has a baggage of karma, and to fulfill that karma we have taken this birth. Our actions also subjected to karmic reactions to the past karma. So some people say that this person he is so good, he has not done anything wrong in his life, but still why is he suffering? So because there is some past karma, for that he has taken birth and he has to fulfill that, or he has to get rid of that karma, so he has taken this birth, and because of this birth that karmic reactions is getting decreased, or it is getting removed. Okay, our karma is related to our swabhava, our nature, our samskaras. So this is all karma is related to our swabhava. What kind of swabhava I have is basically based on my previous life impressions, and also the how I have been brought up. So that samskaras we are talking about, it is not this life samskara, it might be coming from previous life also. Karma means action performed by the incomplete hoping to achieve completeness. So karma also means some actions performed by the incomplete meaning so you do not have complete understanding and you have done certain things, then also you can get some reactions. So without proper understanding, if you do something, you can also get some reactions. Okay, so we can go on, but what I mean to say here is that whatever activity that we are going to do, it has got some reactions associated with that. There are ways that you can do some things without getting any reactions, but because of the modes of nature with which we are working, and so we get some reactions to the work that we are going to do. But what happens is that I just wanted to tell this because we are talking about Krishna. When Krishna does some activity, so since he is not having any material component at all in his form, so and at the same time he is completely spiritual, so there is no reaction to any of the work that he does. When he comes here to this material world also, there is no reactions at all. And these, whenever Krishna does certain things, then we call it as Leela. We say that this is past times, Leela. Okay, so we discuss this in greater details in the later chapters. So that so basically Krishna's birth, we do not call it as, because he's coming in a spiritual form. So and the spiritual form, there is no birth actually. So we call it as Krishna's appearance and disappearance. We do not say that Krishna birth is taken per se. We do not say that Krishna's birthday and death day, these kind of things do not come, because he's come spiritual form. And similarly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so we do not have a disappearance day that we celebrate for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna. Why? Because he's come in the spiritual form, and so there is no whatever they come, it is a leela that they do and then they leave. Okay, you are getting what I'm saying? Anybody has any questions so far?
No problem.
Okay, so then I'll move on. We have a form which is made up of 24 material elements, and other one is called spiritual, which is 25th one. Krishna is not obliged by karma, but he acts as Leela. Okay, so we started at 5:30, it is 6:30 now. How much time we have? Can we do till 7:15, 7:30? Is that fine, Mataji's? Because you have so many.
7.
Okay, 7. Okay, so I'll try to do that. and if not, we'll take it up tomorrow. Okay, I do not want to rush, but this is very important chapter, so I'm just going slow, but believe me, once you get this understanding, when you go and read Bhagavad Gita, you will start enjoying Bhagavad Gita, because you can relate these topics very well. That's how I have learned. And now when I read Bhagavad Gita, I do not go with a another mood that, Arey, why am I reading this? I'm not understanding. No, you're starting understanding, because your foundation is laid in a proper way. So that's my please understand that I'm going slow, I know, but I will try to build that foundation. After that, I do not really wanted to worry about you. When you read it, you will get connected. So please bear that in mind. Krishna is not obliged by karma, but he acts as Leela, pastimes. Leela is the action performed by the complete. See, complete meaning here, spiritual form is what complete means. So please take it that way. Krishna appears millennium after millennium by his will to establish dharma. But can you say that you have appeared in this what do you say, in this on this earth? Can you say that? Why you cannot say that? You have taken birth, you will say, but you will not say that you have appeared. But we'll say that to Krishna. Why? Anybody?
Because his body is spiritual.
Yes, that's one reason. Any other reason? Why we call Krishna's birth as appearance, and our birth we call it as our birth only. We have taken birth. So one of the reasons is that, as it is mentioned here, by his will he is coming. Well, he is coming by his will. We are not coming by our will. We are forced to come here, because we are forced to take birth. You say that next birth I do not want, you will be forced to take birth. Unless and until you really perform certain way, follow the injunctions what is given in Bhagavad Gita, then you can come out of this birth cycle of birth and death. But whatever birth that we all of us have taken, we are forcefully came here. So it's not based on our will. We just came because of our karma, and that's what we were discussing, right? So because of our past karma, the actions, we have come here. One who understands his birth meaning Krishna's birth and activities, tatvataha, this is the word that is used in ninth verse of the fourth chapter. Tatvataha, knowing in full, such a person has cracked the problem of life, and such a person is not entangled in karma. Very, very important. Understand this. Such a person has cracked the problem of life, and such a person is not entangled in karma, and he will eventually be liberated. He need not take birth again. So Krishna is clearly giving you the key here, the important sloka. So if you do not want it to come in the cycle of birth and death, what you need to do? Yes, anybody please?
Understand his birth and death, birth and activity.
Yes,
Sorry.
understand Krishna, understand his birth and activities. If you know that, that's it. You are liberated, and you do not want, you will not be taking birth again in this material world. So that's the clue that Krishna has given. So that's what, that is the reason why you need to understand Krishna. No other person. If you know about Bill Gates, you know about Henry Ford, nothing will happen for you. So if you understand Krishna, then only you will be able to get liberated. Liberated here meaning you don't need to come to take birth again. Okay, so the next one, years, A stands for accurate understanding. So we also need the accurate understanding. Verses 11 to 15 talks about that. Okay, most people know something about religion, something about God, but their understanding can often be quite hazy and confused. So we do not have a perfect knowledge, incomplete knowledge we have. So this is where, if you understand, accurate understanding, when you get, then that will help you to do things properly in this world. Okay. However, when transcendental knowledge is received through the external education system, one gains an accurate understanding. So, sorry, from eternal education system. What is this eternal education system that we are talking about? What is this? Anybody? Okay. Anybody else? What is this eternal education system?
Education
It is
regarding body and
basic,
soul.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Prabhuji, somebody say?
yeah, yeah. Basically, it is timeless, and it applies to all ages, all groups.
Okay, okay, very well. But the point here is, however, when transcendental knowledge is received through eternal education system, eternal education system here means that Bhagavad Gita is eternal education system. So I might have asked you to trick you. So eternal education system is what Krishna is giving now. So once you gain this knowledge and the accurate understanding, if you get that itself will really relieve you from this birth and death one, and you can also perform your work in a way that it will take you to the next level, next level, next level. If not this life, next life you will get liberated, or after 10 births. And he'll also tell you, if you are not able to understand this knowledge completely in this life, there is no harm. Whatever you are doing, it will be carried forward. He's going to explain that doubt also, because Arjuna raises that doubt also. Okay, so then he'll explain. Okay, good. In the three verses, Krishna clears up the three common misunderstandings of Eastern spirituality. Eastern meaning this spirituality that we are talking about. Verse 11 addresses the misconception that all spiritual paths lead to the same destination, because this is what if you see, I'm not sure, but maybe I'm thinking the Gitanjali of Tagore talks about that in one way, that all spiritual paths lead to the same destination. That's not correct actually. You need to understand this perfectly, because there is a lot of misconception there. So if I worship Lord Shiva also, Lord Brahma also, they lead you to the same. Some people think like that, and some people think that Manava Seva, Madhava Seva. If I worship the Daridra Narayana, they say all this is what do you say, misconceptions. It's not correct. Where is Madhava Manav Seva? How can it become Madhava Seva? So all this is misconceptions. Okay, so Krishna explains that while there is unity in diversity, there are also different gradations of spiritual elevation. So there are different. So we are not saying that, say for instance, somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, see, you are establishing so many big temples, spending so much of money, and marble temples, and so opulently your temples are. Why don't you use all that money in constructing hospitals, schools, and there are so many people who are not having food to eat, and you are now building such a opulent temples. Then Srila Prabhupada gives my proper answer. Can somebody tell me what was the answer? What did he say? Anybody?
Basically, he said that, like, for your kids who, like, who are just born to you, you try to give the best of the facilities. The one who is my ultimate father, ultimate truth, for him, whatever I give is very less. So what I'm doing is just a bit of gratitude expressing towards him.
Okay, okay, good. Anybody who read little bit Prabhupada Lilamrita or just like that? No? What is the answer? Yeah, thank you, Santosh Prabhu. Anybody? Okay, so Srila Prabhupada says that, see, it is like the knowledge that we are giving is the ultimate knowledge. So you might give the knowledge, you might give food. But how many days you will give food? You might give food, but fine, you will feed him for 1 day, 2 days. And but again, he has to come through this life and death kind of a thing forever. So if you give knowledge where he need not come to this material world at all, he will not get any problems like hunger, this and that. So that is the knowledge that we are giving. So which is having a bigger picture in mind. So So that is what Srila Prabhupada. See, in ISKCON, when you go and see the prasadam they give, there is food for life also. And whenever you go to any of the ISKCON temples, they give nice prasadam. And not small prasadam. They give you nice lunch, things like that. So, but that is not the focus. The focus is not to feed the people. The focus is to elevate their consciousness to the next level. So that is what, elevating the consciousness to the next level, such that they don't come into the cycle of birth and death again. So that is the reason. And to attract them, we need a big temples. Now Vedic planetarium, which is getting built in Mayapur, and it's like such a huge planetarium. Nowhere in the world you will have such a big planetarium. And the cost of building that is, you cannot even imagine. So many crores of rupees they are spending. And I think they have released one level now. They are going to release the next level. Okay, so verse 12 addresses the misconception that Eastern scriptures talk about polytheism and the worship of many gods. Krishna re-emphasizes the monotheistic stance that there is only one God. So here Krishna is the supreme Lord. So he's previously I talked about, right, when there is a universal government, there is a head of the government, that is Krishna. The rest all are ministers, demigods. So that is what he is re-establishing that. And he talks about all the demigods who are there, etc. in this verse number 12. So if you wanted to understand, if you have any doubt for any of this, I have quoted the verse number. So go and verify the verse number. Okay, verse 12 talks about the demigods and the gods, who is he, etc. Verse 13 addresses the concern that the caste system is unfair and exploitative. Krishna outlines the true criteria and purpose of such classification. So you might have seen that we have so much caste system that is there, and Krishna talks about that. Let's see that. Now Krishna is back to the track. Actually, he's now talking about the science of work. Okay, why he is talking about science of work? Because logically he came to the classification based on the what do you say here, caste system. That's what verse 13 he talks about, and then he comes on track and he talks about the science of work now. Okay, science of work or gnana about the karma. You understand what I mean? Gnana about karma. See, you wanted to do some work, you need some knowledge. The how part, that is what he is talking about. Gnana about karma. Okay, knowledge about work is what he is talking about. Science of work. 11 to 23. Previous chapter we talked about dutiful work, the prescribed duties. Prescribed duties have come from Vedas, and Vedas have come from Supreme Lord. That is what we have seen, the yajna. What is that called? As the cycle of what is the cycle of sacrifice? That's what we said, right? Cycle of sacrifice. So basically what he was telling in that cycle is that basically the grains have are there, and from grains what was that cycle? I'm not able to recollect. Okay, anyways, the point what he was taking is telling is that the Vedas have come from Supreme Lord, and the duties that you need to perform are coming from the Vedas, because Vedas have prescribed duties are there, and you do that. And why are we doing these prescribed duties? And are there no what do you say, when you do the prescribed duties, are you enjoying the results? Yes, please. Anybody? Are you enjoying the results when you do the prescribed duties?
No.
Okay. How many say no? How many say yes?
You should not expect the results.
No, how many say no? How many say yes? When you do prescribed duties, are you going to enjoy the results, or yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. How many of you are saying yes? Can you speak out?
Yes,
How many are
Prabhuji.
there?
Yes, Prabhuji, myself.
Yes. Okay. How many are saying no?
Yes, because whatever result we'll get, we'll enjoy it. Yes.
Okay. How many are saying no? It's like a debate
Yes,
class now.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. According to me also, we definitely enjoy. We should not expect it is a different issue, but we enjoy the result.
You enjoy the results. Okay. So, and how many are saying that we will not enjoy the results? Any one of you at least are saying?
I feel that he says that I don't know whether I enjoy it or not, but we are not supposed to enjoy it because we are not supposed to enjoy it because whether it's a positive result or negative result, you should be not attached to the result. That's
Enjoy
what
is nothing but taking it as a heartful. Take the heartful. I mean, open
As you sow, you reap.
మనస్ఫూర్తిగా
So
స్వీకరించడం.
you reap.
Okay. So see, I see, as I told you, Bhagavad Gita is a practical user manual. So one of the things is that Matajis, Prabhujis, please understand this. If you wanted to take advantage of Bhagavad Gita and use it in your life, you should ask each and every question the way Arjuna is asking. Now you are talking about prescribed duties. So are these prescribed duties, when I do, I get some results. Am I going to enjoy those results or no? You, what is the, or at least you should ask, are prescribed duties, when you do it, but what will happen to me? So whatever general questions you are asking, right, keep that inquisitiveness. Atato Brahma Jignasa. So that Jignasa should be there, like a child asking the questions. Once you lose that, you will be ritualistic. Read Bhagavad Gita, you will read Bhagavad Gita, it goes from year to year. Iskan say Iskan. So you will not get benefited at all. Okay. So why I am saying this is because unless and until you take this seriously, you will not get benefited through any of these classes. Ask yourself how I can use it in my life. How can I change myself based on this verse that Krishna is talking? Can I start making some changes in my life? So once you ask, at least your mind is now thinking, right? So that is the next level he is going. The how part? You are giving some mind thought for the mind. So that is what. So now, very good question actually, very good answers. But we will see the output now. What are prescribed? Why are basically prescribed duties have been given? Why they are being? Can somebody answer my why question? Why prescribed duties Krishna has prescribed to follow initially as part of the karma yoga? Why? At least ask why 3 times in whatever verse you are reading. But tell me why Krishna has given prescribed duties in karma yoga. Attempt. I know
To be disciplined in life.
Fantastic, Mataji. So basically, Krishna is asked initially. See why? Because people started. The people are lazy. They're lazy bums. They do not want it to work at all. And there are people who just wanted to live like an animalistic life, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And these animalistic people, their main thing is that sense gratification. Sense gratification left and right, like animals. Whenever they want, they can go for sense gratification, eat whatever, do whatever, mate whatever. So that kind of animalistic life. So to bring them into the disciplined way of life, he said, follow karma yoga. And in that first yajna that he was talking about, do dutiful work. And dutiful work is coming from prescribed duties. And where are these prescribed duties prescribed? It is coming from Vedas. So you are leading your life religiously in one way, because you are following Vedas or some religious scriptures. So you are following some religiously. Earlier you used to say, right, I know that I should not eat certain things, but again on Saturdays and Fridays I do not eat these things, right? So at least some discipline is there instead of having no discipline at all. So that is what, at least you start with something, right? So if you do that, then there is something to the next one. So if you don't start, so this is where prescribed duties have been given. Okay, prescribed duties have come, and whether you expect the result or don't expect the result, that is there in the prescribed duties. Actually, when you say prescribed duties, you are doing sakama karma or sakama. Sakama means you are expecting results. Sa with kama means desire. So your prescribed duties are when you are doing it, you are expecting some results. Yes, in karma yoga, in karma, there are three kinds of karmas. The way we'll see that in this chapter itself, that knowledge is what is going to give now. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that keep this inquisitiveness to know and ask very basic questions, very basic questions. That's why, and some of you might have asked me so big questions. I would appreciate if you ask me very basic questions. Like today, what is yajna? What is duty for prescribed duties? Just go dig deeper and ask yourself. You will get the answers. It is there in Bhagavad Gita, but you need to see that chakshu. So you need to have that eyes to see that. Okay, prescribed duties have come from Vedas, and Vedas have come from Supreme Lord. Okay, these are kind of karma kanda. Karma kandas are also part of that. Okay, prescribed duties. In the science of work, where is this work prescribed duties defined? This is where this question we are talking about. Prescribed duties, where is it defined? How we should do? Is what is not there. Now today we will talk about that. Okay, Mataji, whosoever has come at says that, can you extend yourselves? Can we go for 15-20 minutes more? One of you said 7 o'clock we should stop. I was just thinking.
Okay, Prabhu.
Mataji, please, because we just wanted to touch this. And
Okay, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for accommodating. I appreciate that. So you're not leaving now, Mataji, because I don't want you to really force yourself. But you're there, na?
No, Mataji. No, Prabhu. I'm not going.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, what we are understanding is this prescribed duties. How do you define them? That is what we wanted to know, because Krishna said that fine, you have to do your prescribed duties. What is this prescribed duties? And that dig deeper question is what we know. According to our see, we are having this material body also. So based on the material body, so according to the three modes of nature and the work that is associated with them, the four divisions of human societies have been created. That's what Krishna is saying. Now let me take one step back. So when Krishna says that these prescribed duties have come from the Vedas, and where did they really come from? They came from Varnashrama Dharma. Varna Ashrama Dharma. So they came from there, Varnashrama Dharma. So we will, that is what we are talking about. And as part of the Varna, we are talking about social order. I know that you are a little confused. We will clarify that. Okay. So I have a nice diagram that I'm going to show you. So then, okay. So the work that we are talking about is the prescribed duties, and these prescribed duties have come from Vedas. That's what he said, right? Now he is talking about the Varnashrama Dharma. These prescribed duties have come from the Varnashrama Dharma, and now here, this is what it is. See, this is the social order, the Varnashrama, and there are based on the three modes of nature. Okay, three modes of nature. What are the three modes of nature? Can somebody tell me?
Mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Right. So you having these three modes of nature, based on that, you are taking any of these varnas. Okay. So basically you come under these categories. Whether you are a teacher category, or a administrative category, or a business category, or a common worker category. Okay. In the sloka down below, this is the social order. And this is what he is talking about, Varna. Okay. So this is the material order. So let me clarify this. The Varna that he is talking about here, Chaturvarnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So Chaturvarnam, the four orders called Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, these four classes of order, social order, I have created. That's what Krishna is saying. I have created based on the guna karma vibhagasha. Guna means the three modes of nature that is there, material modes of nature. So based on that, these have been created. If you are more rajasic kind of thing, you are more suited for Kshatriya kind of a role, right? And if you are more sattvic oriented, you are more Brahmana kind of a role you are. And similarly the others, the Vaishya and Shudra. Okay, so Shudra is basically more into tamasic kind of a thing. So out of the three modes, rajasic tamasic mode is what the Shudra, and here it is mixed. Okay, so that's what it is. Now why are we discussing this? Yes, please. Why are we discussing this?
Under social order.
Again, can you repeat that one more time? Yeah.
Social order.
Okay, why social order we are discussing?
To understand the prescribed duties.
Oh yes, very good. So to understand what are my prescribed duties, I need to know under which varna I come and which are the modes of material nature that is influencing me, and based on that I know what are my prescribed duties. Right? See, this is the material order that we are talking about. Ashrama. So you can tell me how many ashramas are there?
4, Prabhuji.
Yeah. What are those?
Brahmacharya, Gruhastha, Vanaprastha,
Sannyasa. Okay, good. So the varna that we are talking about is the social order, or is basically social order, and it is more for material order. Okay, and the ashrama that we are talking about, all the four ashramas, brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha and sannyasa, these are spiritual orders. Okay, now Krishna is talking about social order, or the material order he is talking about here, guna karma vibhagasha. He is not talking about the ashrama part here now. Okay, we'll talk about that later. For now, for the context, you need to know this, because you need to know your prescribed duties. For knowing your prescribed duties, you need to know which order you come, because what is happening is that see, Arjuna he's basically a Kshatriya, which is a social order. So for a Kshatriya, what is the prescribed duty? He should know. What is the prescribed duty of his higher duty for a Kshatriya? He has to safeguard the people from adharma. So he has to protect people. He should not run away from the protecting people. That is what he is doing now. Okay, he wanted to not wage a war. So you need to understand what is your prescribed duty. For that, this information is essential. Qualities define social order, not the birth. So our actually in India, the caste system has been what do you say? It has been badly mispropagated, so that we are labeled very wrongly. Okay, anyways, so that is what it is. Now the next R in the years is removing reactions. So that means whenever you do your prescribed duties, now why am I telling this? Because you need to understand your prescribed duties, and later point of time I will also ask you few questions. What are your prescribed duties? Can you identify your prescribed duties? And accordingly you need to also act. So removing reactions. While transcendental knowledge helps one to clear up philosophical doubts, it also helps one to clear up their karmic bank balance. Okay, karma is the universal law of nature. For every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So as per Newton's law also, every action has a equal and opposite reaction. But when I do certain karma or some work, there is a reaction associated with that. So that means is there any way that I can come out of the reactive mode? That is the question that we need to ask. that is where some solutions are being provided by Krishna. While bad karma is obviously undesirable, Krishna further explains that good karma should also be avoided, since it also binds one to material existence. This is very confusing. Can somebody explain me what is this? Yeah, nobody?
Good can lead to greediness.
Okay, what can lead to greediness, Mataji?
Wanting of more and more. If by good karma, if you get something materially profitable, then you may want it more and more rather than you go for liberation.
See what happens. Good, Mataji. Thank you. So when you do bad karma, obviously it is undesirable, because you have to face that and you go to Narkaloka, they say, right? Can you mute Prabhuji Mataji? Okay. And so that is undesirable anyways. But here Krishna is also saying that don't. So you should also avoid doing good karma. Good karma meaning some pious activities. When you do some pious activities, you get some pious credit, punya. When you get punya, what will happen is that you will what do you say, to redeem that punya, you have to take birth again. Probably because of the punya, you might go to some loka where you can enjoy those punya. The Krishna talks about that in greater details at a later point of time. Why one should also not go for doing good karma. So it's like kind of little confusing at the same time. But so we'll see that in this chapter only we'll see. Because it will bind to the material existence. It will bind you to the material existence. So you need to come out. Okay, beyond good and bad are activities performed on the spiritual level, that is action which yields no reaction and ultimately frees one from the anxieties and entanglement of this world. So when you do this work, so that is what you need to understand. Okay, not easy, but if you understand this, it will become easy for you. Such action is called akarma. Then we'll see that. So let's see. See, the work, as I told you, any work you do, there is a reaction for this. Reaction meaning not negative. As I told you, there is a good karma that you can get or a bad karma that you can get. So the results wise, right? When I do some work, I'll get some results. That's what we are talking about. The reaction, the results here mean reactions, right? So the reaction, the work reactions can be when you do sakarma. So what is sakarma? As sakama karma, I just made it as sakarma. That's what Krishna also does. Sakama karma is sakarma.
Working out of desire.
Right. So there is a positive reaction to that. Okay. So reaction is positive. Okay. That means you are expecting some results out of it. That means the reaction is there. Reaction for the work is there. What is vikarma?
Not following regulations, rules and all.
Right. Vikarma is a person who is not following the prescribed duties. Here, sakarma, this person is following the prescribed duties, but again, the work with which he is doing here. This is important. See, the work, whenever you do work, there is reaction. Okay. And the important thing is that the intention with which you are doing the work is what is more important. So when the intention that you are doing the work to get the result out of it, sakama karma, that means I am desiring the results and for which I am doing it, then you get a positive reaction. That means something you will get out of it, right? The intention is to get out of it. So you will get some results here. The reactions are there here. Okay, understand this. The reactions are there. The reactions are negative here because you have not followed the prescribed duties and you are doing certain things, and that things will be giving you negative reactions. Here they'll give you some positive reactions Here they'll give you negative reactions. Okay. And there is one more way that you can also do the work where it is called akarma and there is no reaction at all. So in this way, if you see good karma, bad karma, no karma. So when you do good karma, you will be taking to fulfill the good karma credit. You have to take birth again and you will be in the material world. Again, you have to come back because you did it. And suppose you do some vikarma. You did vikarma means you got negative reactions. Then you will take a birth, but your birth will not be at a higher planet level. It will be at a lower planet level and the lower species. You may take a animal body or a snake body or some other body because you will get a negative reactions. So this is what it is. Okay, when you do akarma, there is no reaction at all. So an intelligent person, you now will ask, how do I do akarma? Right? That's an obvious question. Is that not? Now, again, this particular Bhagavad Gita sloka, if you see 4.18, the purport, not purport, the translation is kind of confusing. So I just wanted to reiterate this. Okay, so it is 7:15 now. Okay, probably I'll end up with this particular thing and we will discuss in more detail tomorrow. And what I want you to do is that go thoroughly start reading Bhagavad Gita. So read Bhagavad Gita with basic understanding of how I can apply in my life. What is Krishna trying to speak here? So very like a childish child kind of a mindset, what do you say, that kind of an illusion with which you should start reading Bhagavad Gita. How I can apply, why am I not understanding? So put so much pressure on it that the things would start revealing to you. So, and that's how one should struggle, and this knowledge will not come just like that. So yes, people in like Srila Prabhupada has given so nicely. That is the reason we are able to understand. If not, it is impossible for us to understand Bhagavad Gita. And this much knowledge which we are getting is because of that mercy only. And this mercy you will be getting only when you start reading with that kind of a attitude. Okay. So yeah, so I would like to stop here today. It is too much of a overload on you also if I continue, but tomorrow we will discuss this in greater detail and complete this entire chapter, and you will have a very good idea to go to the next one. Okay, is that fine with you?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
So
One doubt, Prabhu.
Sure, go ahead.
Akarma is like buddhi yoga, Prabhu. I mean, doing work without expecting results of the work.
Yes, you are right, but we'll dig deeper. Yes, you are right, Mataji. It is akarma when you do that is what Krishna is talking about, buddhi yoga, and in one way that is what it is. Okay, but that is what will be dealt in greater detail in chapter 5. Okay, now he is talking about how to perform work. How part is talking about, see, he is combining the karma part and the what part and the how part. So you know that I need to do prescribed duties. Yes, I need to do karma, and what are the ways you can do karma, and what kind of a intentions with which you can do karma he is talking about, and he gives you all the how to do akarma. Again is the ultimate level. That is what we will discuss in chapter 5. But in this year, you will get a very good picture about all the knowledge required for all that. But ultimately, in the 5th chapter, he will be talking about that. Yes, thank you, Mataji. That's a good understanding. Yes. Any other question?
Prabhuji, I have one question. Maybe you can answer it later in the group also. Like, you know, especially when you talked about the akarma, like if today if I'm doing some job, let's say my job is all fruitive activity. It cannot be non-fruitive because if I do X, Y is expected out of me. So how do I practice akarma in that kind of a situation?
Okay. Okay. No, but yes, you see, is exactly what your question will be addressed in this chapter itself, because you will get a very crystal clear understanding about everything. Everything, how to do activities, because see, when you are talking about the chapter 3, you are talking about, you said that work is worship. It means your focus is on work, and work is worship is what you said, and you do in a prescribed way. Now here in this chapter, Krishna is taking it to the next level. He is more talking at a life level, how you should what kind of things that you need to do in your life. He is talking about, not in your professional life. He is talking about your entire life, what kind of work you need to do. So that is what he's going to deal in this chapter. So if you go through the chapter 4 yourself and then come up with some questions, then it will be very easy for you to understand this chapter also. While I will definitely go through, but you also do your job of reading it on your own. Okay, so I think wonderfully everybody is reading and also posting certain things to inspire others and inspire themselves. That's really good. But start reading Bhagavad Gita, be on your own. Don't depend upon my explanation. You should also be contributing in with your understanding. That is what I wanted really. So that's the reason I do not want to spoon feed so many things. I do not have so much knowledge, first of all, but whatever limited knowledge I will give you. But you should come up doing things on your own. Be independent. Start reading Bhagavad Gita and understanding yourself. So that's what we should eventually drive. Okay, so and your focus should be not that I gain this bookish knowledge. No, how I can implement in my life. And I've given you certain things with a very big intention. I given you a daily tracker. How many of you are at least attempted to put certain things in that particular daily tracker? Anybody?
Thank you. I've just taken a printout from here. I'll start this week.
Oh, okay, good. See, these exercises when you do, you can start relating this Bhagavad Gita. You can apply in your life. If not, it will be like theoretical knowledge. See, what we are saying is that whatever activity, see, what you need to do, just put your list of things that you wanted to do. Whatever activities you wanted to see, everything starts with some activity, action. That's what Bhagavad Gita is talking about. Some work you need to do. So what is the work? You have just at least prepare that laundry list. Say, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this. So Matajis also can have some laundry list. Whether you are working, not working, doesn't matter. You can write your own. You can, one way you can put all your desires, whatever is your desires. Then you can validate these desires. But when I perform this work, what kind of reactions I am going to get? So that is what in one way we are talking. We're going to go into the yajna part. So what kind of a desires you have, what kind of a purpose you have in your life, all these things. Yes, at least start putting certain things in your on that paper. So can I expect tomorrow that you will have a certain the list of things you wanted to do in your life? Start with that.
Yes, Prabhu.
Matajis.
We'll try to do, Prabhuji.
No trying business, Mataji, unless and until you do it. You cannot see, if you wanted to apply the knowledge, you need to have some starting thing, right? So put certain, see, you cannot be without any desires, right? You have some desires in your life. Whether you call it as prescribed duties or non-prescribed duty, you don't know. But at least you'll have some desires. Put those desires in the list. Now slowly, because that is what we will apply it in our class and see. Once you take up this, whether you should take up this, if you take up this, what kind of reactions you will get, and if you wanted to not get any reaction, what you need to do. Work is the same. If you do not want to get reaction, unless it comes from you, we cannot do it. I think I've given so much of emphasis. Mataji's, please forgive me if there were any things that I might have spoken earlier in the classes, but it is
No,
not
no problem.
for any other reason. But anyways, the point is that please follow these things, what I am trying to say, especially coming up with a list of things that you wanted to do. Okay, that way now
Sure.
we can practically work now. Practically work. Then you can see the results that, yeah, yes, I can apply Bhagavad Gita in my life. If not, it will
Yes.
be bookish knowledge. So please, you don't have to share with anybody. You have to just keep that with you. And now when I go into the class, then you can just validate on your own. Okay, so that's all I have for today. So we will just do 1 minute kirtan and then we will leave for today. Is that fine? Any questions before we end? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vranda ki jai. Hare Krishna everyone. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow 4 o'clock we will meet. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening. Okay. And the meeting
Thank
ID
you,
will be the
Prabhuji. Hare
same.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any doubts you have, please post it on the channel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Prabhuji, I joined you at about 6:10, I guess. Did I miss a lot?
Mataji, your name, sorry, not displayed.
I'm Jyoti.
Okay,
I had
Mataji.
yeah. So I joined at 6:10 when you were explaining about Hanumanji. About
Okay,
like,
nothing.
how.
Okay. You did not miss much, Mataji.
Okay, thank you. I
Sure,
tried as fast as possible and I joined. Yes.
Sure,
Okay,
Mataji. Thank you.
thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.